John Faine.
On radio, online and on digital.
The Conversation Hour on 774 ABC Melbourne.
And on ABC Victoria.
Hey, Rachel, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And your credentials?
Yes, I'm a former Antarctic expedition leader. How's that?
A year?
A year.
How many years ago?
We got back January 2006 and we were there for 12 months on the ice.
When you say we?
There was a team of 18 of us and we were there for 24 hours a day, around the clock, months of darkness, bitter cold, no way in or out for a year.
And you were the boss?
And I was the boss.
Whoa,
So
what sort of a boss were you?
People actually ask me about the elements and I say, look, living at minus 35 degrees and 24 hours of darkness, it's harsh. It's harsh. It's not a patch on the people stuff. As you can imagine, 18 strangers living together.
Were you Captain Bligh?
I tried to be democratic, but I learnt a lesson. One of the leadership lessons I learnt was that you can't always be democratic. There are times where you're paid to make the decision, and I did learn that.
So how big was the living space, Rachel?
It was, I was just talking to Jesse's little boy out there. If you imagine a normal school, like a high school or primary school, it was sort of like that. So you had your playground area and your ovals and then almost like portable accommodation. And we had a bedroom each, which was tiny. There was a bed, a desk.
A cell.
Yeah. Oh. And that's one of the things I forgot to pack. And you get one chance. If you forget to pack something, we go down in November and the ship comes back in February and takes the summer crew out and leaves the winter crew behind. So you get one shot at it if you forget something. And one of the things I forgot was my own linen and things to dress up my bedroom. So I had to email my mum and say, Mum, send me linen and send me, I don't know, a photo frame or something to make this look like my bedroom and not, a government-issued cell.
Did you get mail there as well?
Once a year.
Once a year?
So once a year you get your mail. And it's funny, my expedition team spent a lot of time on eBay, even though obviously...
You can't get anything delivered though.
And so once a year when the eBay came in, we'd get all these parcels and packages and people would forget what they'd bought.
What would you buy?
Well, I bought clothes, John, because I thought I'd been wearing the same clothes for 12 months. I bought new T-shirts and shirts, but my expeditioners bought D9 dozers and bulldozers and front-end loaders.
Bulldozer.
Obviously, they didn't get them delivered.
I'm pleased to hear that.
They spent quite a deal of time buying plant and equipment.
For when they came
back and getting it delivered to their families in Australia who are sitting there.
So they're so bored, they're sitting there blowing money on things that they can't even use.
Yep. And big things and getting them delivered unannounced. So you imagine their parents sitting there looking down the driveway going, what in the world is this yellow piece of plant and equipment coming up the driveway because my son has bought it on eBay in Antarctica.
So, Rachel, what were your credentials for being an expedition leader for Antarctica?
It's fascinating, John, and it's the reason I am an Australia Day ambassador because I answered an ad in the newspaper. And believe it or not, that's how we recruit for expeditions. We advertise in a newspaper. And I had been in leadership roles for 16 years.
In what industries?
As a park ranger, so in park management, environmental management.
What's your basic credential?
My basic Bachelor of Arts is actually in public relations, and I got into PR and didn't like it, and I saw some park rangers and I thought, they love their job. I want a job I love too. I'm going to do that. So I got into park management and then saw this ad and just thought,
well, it's just one big park down there, really, isn't it?
But I'd never been to the... I'd been to the snow once. I went to Mount Donabuang on a school excursion, so I knew nothing about Antarctica. And I thought, I'm going to have a crack at this. They were actually recruiting for people with leadership experience and also empathy. They had a certain lot of personal values, so empathy and respect and compassion. And I thought, what a ripper idea. I'm going to have a crack. I don't think I'll get it, but I'll have a crack at this job. And then I got it. And then I had to tell my mum I was working overseas for a year and I couldn't come home.
Not just overseas. I mean, but I don't know what we do down there. I have no idea. I presume it's something to do with the marine environment. But what's it all about? What's it for? What's the point?
Climate change and global warming. So Australia, we are the largest stakeholder. Australia claims, we have a territorial claim, so we don't own it, but we claim territory over 45%. So we are the biggest stakeholder.
And the others, let me go through. There's Russians, there's South Africans,
Mm-hmm.
there's South Americans, so there's Chile and Argentina. I
Yes,
think.
they're both there.
Yeah, who else?
India's there.
India?
Yep, Chinese.
India?
They dropped in the Indians.
There's an Indian base
There is
on
Maitri.
Antarctica?
Yeah, there is an Indian base.
Well, I'll never.
Yep. And the Chinese, and they dropped in for visits unannounced. This MiL-8 helicopter appears on the horizon, and the neighbours have dropped in for a tour of the station.
Did they bring food?
No, they loved our food. They actually came to eat our food.
That's not very Chinese of them.
I know. Well, we went to their
wow.
station. We loved their food
Okay.
as well. Oh, divine! But they came to our station and they loved our food. They just loved it.
What did you serve them?
We served whatever we were eating, so usually roasts or pasta, or we had a brilliant chef.
Sorry, roast what? Penguin?
Roast beef. It's a national park, John. We have to stay 5 metres from the penguins.
Right, so what? You've got frozen beef, have
Frozen,
you?
yeah. Yeah, we did actually give the Russians a little bit of our meat just quietly because we had so much. You know, we are
Take roux
so
down?
well looked after.
Roux?
We did have kangaroo on Midwinter's Day, which is our big celebration. The 21st of June is our only public holiday because there's no point, hey, having a public holiday when you're with the same people in the same place doing the same thing. It just means you get to spend more time together.
So what did you do outdoors? You said there was a courtyard in this
Yeah.
school that we're meant to imagine. What was it
Outdo-
like?
It was it was fantastic. Looking at the wildlife was the highlight. I mean, you do give up a lot when you're away for a year, and all the things you love. Like for me, it was decent coffee and newspapers and sushi and family and friends. Probably should have said that first, huh? That wasn't a hierarchy.
Coffee, sushi. Oh, yeah.
Family,
Loved ones.
friends.
But the trade-off for that is the opportunity to look at this extraordinary wildlife and the colours.
Well, other than penguins.
Your penguins, lots of seals are down
Oh, you
there.
get seals up here. Don't have to go down there to see seals. And they smell anyway. Go on.
They do smell. It's actually the colour though. Like I had.
What do you mean the colour?
it's
We
all
just
white.
imagined white.
And I thought
50
that too.
shades of it.
Yeah. And it was only when I lived there I realised because it's so cold, there's crystals in the sky, and when the sun hits these crystals, it reflects off all the colours. So there's pinks and blues and colours that don't even have names.
Wow.
Beautiful colours. And so it's just such an amazingly beautiful, colourful place. And I was like you, Alice. I thought, it's going to be white. And it was just stunning. And of course, the aurora australis, the southern lights, in winter, you just look up in the sky and see this extraordinary light show, which is really hard to photograph because you have to be there at the right time, and it's at minus 35. It's too cold to be standing around with a camera. And the other thing, you're wearing thick gloves. So if you want to manipulate your camera, it's really difficult.
Tricky. And if you take your gloves off, how long have you got?
I did it once. I had 3 seconds, and I lost the feeling in my fingertips for 6 months.
In 3 seconds.
In 3 seconds.
Wow.
That was just to literally take my hand out, scrunch it into a fist, shove it back in the glove. Done.
Oh,
6 months it took to get the feeling right back in.
And any longer you start to get frostbite, I suppose.
Correct, yeah. Yeah.
And all sorts of terrible consequences develop on from there. Did you get out and about much? Did you go and explore?
We did in summer. Like summer was fantastic, 24 hours of daylight. So it was perfect and it was a bit mild. Winter, you can't go outside between May and August. So as you can imagine, for me as the leader, it's a different role because there's nothing going on outside, so the focus becomes on each other. So it's very easy to start focusing on each other and that interpersonal stuff. Really.
was it like a Big Brother household?
It was, except that we couldn't vote someone out.
Oh, yes, you were stuck.
I would have liked to.
You could, but the consequences would be dramatic.
Oh, and someone asked me today, how do you manage performance? Like, how do you inspire someone who's done something great, and if someone's done something wrong, what do you do? Do you send them outdoors? And I said, well, I mean that's a conversation for a whole other day in itself. But how you,
Well, wasn't it Oates who said, "I'm just stepping out for a moment"?
yeah, I might be sometime.
Yes.
So you're tempting as it was, but so winter it was very much about how do I get these guys inspired through this dull.
Guys.
The gang, the guys. So
Are they all guys?
We had 4 women and 14 men, which is
And
quite
Amongst
unusual.
that, are any of those in couples?
Not in
Sorry,
our
at
team.
the start.
Yeah, you know the saying about women meeting men in Antarctica. Like my girlfriends all said to me, "It'll be a great place to meet a guy," and I said, "Yeah, but the women of Antarctica have a saying that The odds are good, but the goods are odd.
And are they?
Oh, yeah.
So at the start, no couples amongst that?
It's
And at the end?
at the end. No, not to my knowledge.
Not
I
anymore,
will
but there were
say.
some in between.
And they do allow couples. Yeah, we do allow couples there, but as you can imagine, I mean, it's tricky being in a relationship anyway. But when you're in that environment where
And we should not assume that all the relationships would be across the gender divide either. That would be extremely non-PC.
correct. Yes, that's a good point. And we were in that sense, we were diverse. We did have single people, married people, gay people, 24-year-old, 64-year-old, people who'd only ever worked in the city, people who'd only ever worked in rural areas, people who were self-employed, people who'd only worked in corporates, you name it. It was like someone got this massive net and scooped up an example of everyone in the community, and my job was to stop them killing each other.
And presumably they all have specific roles and tasks.
Spot on, yeah. So you have two roles. You have your formal role, which would be a science role, or an engineering role, or a trade
cook
role,
or whatever
a
it
cook
might be,
or
yeah.
a doctor. But you also take on community roles because, for example, we're not near a hospital. So my two carpenters did 2 weeks training to become theatre nurses. Mm-hmm. And my two IT officers, my two IT guys, did 2 weeks training to become anaesthetic assistants.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because who better to put you to sleep than the IT guys, huh?
Oh!
Just kidding. I'm married to an IT guy. I'm kidding. So you take on these other roles so that you can support the community.
And you're ready for an
So
emergency.
firefighting, yep, search and rescue, hairdressing, homemade brew, flag officer.
Homemade brew.
Homemade brew.
Yeah, we had.
So there's an alcohol ration.
We did. Yeah, we had homemade brew. We had 6 home brewers, and we had 2 chief brewers in case one of the chief brewers was ever off station. As someone pointed out to me, they said you have 1 doctor and 2 chief brewers. God bless Australia. It's Australian stations. We're fantastic.
So you have a ration of alcohol?
You pre-buy it. So you buy it in advance, which is tough, trying to estimate how much alcohol you'll need for a
Well,
year.
you can have Feb fast. You just go without for a year. Problem solved.
Yeah, and then my role as the leader, I put it into a place that was called Fort Knox, and part of the policy was I could ration out to you each Wednesday at 7:30. From your rations, you could have a slab of beer, a bottle of spirits, or 3 bottles of wine for the week.
For the week. So half a bottle a day.
Yep. John's raising his eyebrows.
Okay. So have you been back?
No,
Would you?
No, I miss it. I desperately miss the place, and I have to stop myself getting on the internet and looking at the webcam and talking to the guys who are down there at the moment. But for me, the emotional toll was huge. To be away for a year, it's a long time to be away from the people that you love, and knowing that if something happens to it's not like the Defence Force. They can.
But lots of people go and work overseas.
But you can come home. They can
Yeah, but
get
they
you back.
don't.
Yeah, but if something happened and we said, quick, John, something's happened to someone you love, they could get you out. Even
Like for a funeral or something.
yeah, even in a war zone. They could bring you home in an emergency. For us, nah. No amount of money, nothing will get you out in an emergency. So, and you know that going in, but it's a very different thing living that. It's very different walking around with your fingers crossed going, oh, I hope everyone I love is okay because I can't get to them. And it's
Do you follow
huge.
the news back home slavishly?
It's funny, we hear about the news on the internet, so we read it, but you miss all the pop culture references. So you don't hear music, you don't know what music's current, you don't hear movies or books or anything in pop culture that's current. We hear about the big stuff, but you don't see the video of it. I came back and I was with with a friend of mine listening to a band playing live, and they were doing cover songs, and I knew every song except this one song came out, and everyone else is shouting this one song, and I've never heard it, and I'm like, what is it? It turned out it was Mr. Brightside by the Killers, which was the #1 song for that year, but I'd never heard it before. So if I'm in a Trivial Pursuit team,
Got these little gaps
I've got
in your
gaps.
knowledge.
I've got a massive gap of a year in my pop culture knowledge.
And how does that then shape your emotions towards Australia Day?
Oh, it's a chance. What other country in the world can you get the opportunity to lead an expedition to Antarctica based on an ad in a newspaper?
At the age of
35. It was extraordinary. And it's changed my life. And it's like, I just think this country's great. I can't think of another country where and because they're recruiting for leadership skills, you don't have to be a scientist, you have to have leadership experience, which opens it up to everybody. And it's really clever too, because that's the skill set that you need. But it's so democratic. It means anyone can have a crack at this, anyone can have a go. And I started to think, what a great country. So when I was invited to be an ambassador, I thought, oh yeah, if I can repay back and say thank you to this wonderful country that gave me this opportunity, it's extraordinary.
Now, Alice told us she's going to Wangaratta.
Wangaratta.
Where are you going?
I'm off to Glen Waverley, and I'm absolutely stoked because my very first job was as a park ranger at Jells Park in Glen Waverley. So for me, to come back to the city of Monash and back to Glen Waverley.
And they've got a special underground bunker and they're going to lock you in there for a year.
I think they've got... we're having a barbecue. We actually had a barbecue in Antarctica on Australia Day, but we had to have it in a shipping channel to stop in a shipping container to stop the wind blowing the barbecue out.
Going to make a speech?
Yes, I am making a speech.
Saying something profound?
Pretty much along the lines of what I've just said, that,
Okay.
the gratitude.
Well, have a great day out of it. It should be wonderful. Rachael Robertson.